There are some very big similarities between a refugee and a city that's been torn apart. Has to leave their country and go start their life somewhere, and I think that's very true for people here in Christchurch as well. Their lives are torn up and they can no longer live normality, and they have to begin elsewhere.
I won't be the first to say I'm sorry, even if it's my fault. It's not like I don't know how to say it, it's just...
Christchurch is definitely a city in transition. This disaster has given it an opportunity to begin something, and it's really trying to find its identity. I think the end goal for me would have to be somewhere in international relations. So it was in the spring of 2001 when we left Afghanistan and crossed the border to Pakistan. It was a massive adventure. There was in total about 400 of us, all in a similar situation from Afghanistan. We were snuck out from the hotel under the cover of night and into this fishing ship. From there we went out into the Indian Ocean, and it was here near sinking that a mayday signal was sent and a container ship plucked us out of the Indian Ocean. When people talk about it, it just sort of ignites my own experiences. I remember being on the ship, but I didn't really understand the gravity of the whole situation until I look back at it, at the whole thing. I mean, it's a different perspective for my parents. They're the ones that also bear the risk and the burden. Everything New Zealanders know about Afghanistan is mainly based upon what they've seen here in the media. There's the view that the media portrays, and then there's the view of the actual Kabul man walking the streets, and it's a whole different perspective. After the February quake, there was a much bigger consensus amongst students especially, to go out and help. We heard about the volunteer army. They took us into the eastern suburbs. They were completely destroyed. We'd bought gumboots and shovels and wheelbarrows and whatever we had, and we shoveled silt out. There's been so many efforts to help out in the community. I guess I'm just as proud to be a New Zealander as I am to be an Afghan, but it's really important for me not to lose touch with Afghanistan, and that's something I'll always carry with me. A lot of people tend to view the earthquakes as a disaster, and it is. But amongst that, there's an opportunity that provides the community with a chance to really engage in a new city. I was given the opportunity to go study in Auckland or Wellington, but I just thought, hey, this is the place to be.
They say New York, the city will never sleep. Cairo is worse. They never sleep. They don't even know what the sleep is. I spent all my childhood and all my memories in Egypt. The experiences that Somalians had after the earthquake was significant. Yes, they experienced war, gunfire, death, but mainly they experienced a man-made disaster, not natural-made disaster. Others left, but they took a time to settle down and return back, and some of us stayed. Those who stayed are not many, just a very, very small numbers. Number of women came together and then they decided, okay, we need to do something. Even though that was a devastating experience for everybody, they also bring out the goods of people. And what the women and Somali women did was very good. والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Somali community decided to contribute to help the people who came from overseas to help the city, and we cook a food for 2 days. They cook for the army who came from Australia, Singapore, that the soldiers who helped the city. They enjoyed the food, yes, absolutely. It was Somali food. No one consulted us. But still we are part of the city, and still we wanted actually to contribute what we can contribute as a refugee background. Yes, we love Christchurch. Yes, we live Christchurch. Yes, we wanted actually to be part of Christchurch, rebuilding, and we will do as much as we could. We use our talent.
To be honest, a refugee is just another name. It doesn't define who the individual is. Being a refugee, just telling people like, okay, I had a different path of the journey. There's something like I think I would carry forever. A lot of people have a very strong bond to their motherland. They still view their background as the one and only, and everything else is transitional. Senior citizens don't have the confidence to sort of integrate with our society as free as we are. We're sort of like younger, we don't have that huge emotional connection back home. Refugees are very talented and very, very smart people. And at the same time, they're very respectful to their culture. But to embrace the New Zealand culture also is very good things. I work on the paper on how the former refugee coped after the earthquake. Significant things that help the refugees cope, spiritual and belief and religion, and knowing that there's everything happened for a reason. I'm a spiritual person, close to God and help, and we call it Allah. So I always ask Allah for guidance. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of where I came from.
Every Muslim dreams to go there, so I shouted my dad there, surprised him, and he went, and he got back proud and happy. When you get to a certain age, you go there, it's like becoming a stronger and better Muslim. That's where all the prophets and stuff sort of based there in God's house, and every Muslim will visit it throughout their life once or twice. When I get a family and kids and stuff, I'd like to go there. So I was 8 years old and I used to get up at 3 in the morning and go to work, sort of child slavery, 3 in the morning till 8 at night. There was no holidays, no weekends, 7 days a week, and just get enough money to make a living until we came to New Zealand and sort of made it better. We owned a battery shop. We just used to have a wee tent in the middle of nowhere. We weren't even allowed to live in Russia, so you had to pay the police, the mafia. They knew who you were. If you don't give your money, then they'll arrest you. Yeah, Dad came home, we're moving away from here next week. Sell everything, pack your bags. Next thing I was in New Zealand, Christchurch, living a normal, good life. As a young kid I came here from Russia, moved down here and for a better future because of the wars in Afghanistan, and as my dad done that every parent would, move you away from a country that's not going to give you a future and take you further away to get somewhere in life. 2 years ago I started my company with myself, my little brother and my brother-in-law, and then as I've gone by and sort of got bigger and bigger, now I've got about 12 staff working for me. Mum's proud of me, Dad's proud. Prove to them that this is not a joke, it's serious. And hired Dad as a project manager, paying him as a project manager, so they're both proud. My goal is to buy my own house in the future and have my own family. I don't think I'm a refugee anymore. I'm Kiwi. I'm proud Afghan and I'll always be Afghan, but just New Zealand, and I'm living a Kiwi life, so this is our home and we call this home. I've got my New Zealand passport, everything, so I can travel anywhere in the world and be known as New Zealander, nothing else. At the moment all you see is painters on the road and road cones. I probably know myself more refugees working on rebuilding Kiwis.
I left Afghanistan when I was really young. My brother came in Tampa by himself. We actually didn't know where my brother was after Taliban invasion of Afghanistan, so he had pretty much run away from Afghanistan without even mentioning it to us. They had to do it quickly because Taliban was searching everyone and getting all the men.
I won't be the first to say I'm sorry, even if it's
We had to go to Iran as well, we had to run away as well. And then we find out that he's in New Zealand. And we didn't know where New Zealand was, to be honest.
to say it. It's just that I won't stress.
Well, I missed my country. I missed the clay house that we had back then. In 2008, we did become a New Zealand citizen. When I went back to Iran to visit my family, I had a New Zealand passport, and when they asked me where I come from, I said I'm from New Zealand. I don't like to mix the both cultures together. I like to keep them separate so I can keep up and learn more from both of them. It doesn't matter where you come from, and it doesn't matter what your background is, but once you're in New Zealand, you're safe and you're free, and you can achieve whatever you want, but you just have to work for it. You have to set yourself a goal, and then you have to work towards that goal to achieve it. I just wanted to be an engineer since I was a child. Back then I said if one day I had a place to become someone, I would definitely become engineers. I can't really imagine it, how hard it would be, how difficult it would be. If I was in Afghanistan, I would have never got to this place.
The only thing that we see from Afghanistan is suicide bombers killing, about Taliban, about Al Qaeda. It's all about killing. It's all about bad stories. and they didn't know much about the real life of people, about the history. The best thing that New Zealand has given me is the security to live my life without being scared that I will be killed by someone. I will be killed by suicide bombers. And even when you're traveling within a bus, you always got a fear at the back of your mind that someone will blow up your bus and your life will finish. When we left Afghanistan, there was no internet, no computers, and we had no idea, what other people look like and how their clothes are and how they, how they're talking. When we came to New Zealand, everyone sort of was shocked and not talking, but sort of excited as well. Wow, what a good life, what a good people. And when we came to Mangere, that everyone had their own room, their own bed. We never had a bed in Afghanistan. All the family members, like mom, dad, kids, everyone sleeping in the same room on the ground. My brother first came here, he was in that boat that called Tampa, and he was accepted in New Zealand. He came to New Zealand and sponsored the rest of the family. The second day in my custody that I went out to the city was Cathedral Square, took a few photos and sent it back home. Yeah, and that is a special place for me, that it's missing at the moment. My dad had a wish when I was in Afghanistan, when I was a child. He was saying that you don't have to be a laborer like me because it's a very tough life. And I was trying to fulfill that wish. And I went to university. I finished my study, I got my degree. I know a lot of Afghani people and other refugees who have been here for 10 years, still struggling with normal daily life, to pick up, in English to go to supermarkets, to find a job, an easy job, and go to a doctor without an interpreter, It's all about determination and encouragement. The opportunity is equal for everyone. That's the main thing that I like about New Zealand. I think this is now my home, yeah. This is where I see my future, and this is where my kids are planning to find their future here.
Christchurch is a very beautiful city, and hopefully in future it will be more beautiful again. My daughters are growing up, and one day they are the citizen of New Zealand now and the resident of Christchurch, so they will support Christchurch again. In 2005, there was a civil war. We common people were the victimized. At that time, I was arrested, and I was in jail for few months. I came to Thailand. I used a fake passport to come. I didn't have enough courage to go and extend the visa. After then, when my visa was expired, I was arrested by the Thai immigration police and taken to the immigration detention center, where I spent 19 months. The food was very terrible, and it was like a poultry farm. 70 people in that much big room, and the people were from different background there, and the language was difficult, and the disease there, it was very, very hard. people from refugee background, they do have the knowledge, they do have the skill, and they will be the part of the rebuild. Like they are studying the different trade course and like a carpentry course, painting course. So they are very interested to rebuild the Christchurch because they think, yeah, it's their home, our home now. So we need to build our own home.
One of the main reasons they want to work, they want to help out, is that they want to give back. There probably just needs to be great understandings from the wider community around what refugees can actually contribute.
People just need a chance to prove that they can do something, and that's where we're missing at the moment.
Refugees' health is because of the trauma and because of the civil wars broken that and witnessing the very dreadful events back in their country, losing their partner, losing their children and parents, because they got that sort of trauma. And when they come here, 60% of the refugees are facing some sort of a mental illness. My role involves, the main thing is bringing people to the mainstream health service. The other thing my role is involved is to help them to understand what is mental health. It's mental health is seen differently especially in the Middle East, in the Asian cultures.
As time goes on, of course, we get things like depression becomes a major problem. And that again is part of the alcohol and nicotine aspect. People become depressed because they feel they're not contributing anything back into our society. If you ask most refugees where they'd rather be living right now, most of them would say, I'd like to go back home, but I can't. I love it here, and we'd like to be able to return some of what we've actually been given by this country, but very few of them actually get a chance to do that.
Because of some barriers, like people feel very isolated and can't come out of the home, especially elderly people. And some people, because of the language barriers, they don't want to assimilate with them in the new environment.
I left Ethiopia when I was young, and I get sick. They call United Nations. They found me sick, and they send me Kenya to have this operation because this is need treatment. They found New Zealand and they bring me here. I had big heart operation. They said pacemaker, and I can't do much. Everyone have this, but some different situation. My situation is not good. Yeah, I can't have children. I can't have job like that. I am happy to be part of this because I am survivor and one of helper. Politics, I take cooking course, making coffee. My certificate, making cappuccino and cake, biscuit, Anzac biscuit, even I learned how to make it here. Ethiopia's just different country, nice country, and people love each other and helping each other, sharing each other. Even we don't close our gate in the house, no close, no one close, just calling for coffee together. Yeah, I like that, I miss that. We go to church with Egyptian, Coptic church, Egyptian and Ethiopians together. Still we looking for to bring Ethiopian priests. Still we asking immigration to have our priests. Very, very important for us because we have strong belief in God. My family, she was living alone and she don't want to move from her house. I said, please come live with me. I was very shocked and knocked the door. Come out, Peter, come out, come out. He said, no, it's cold outside, come in. Are you crazy? Come out, come out. This is earthquake. It was difficult. Even you can't communicate with neighbors. This is the end of the world, we thinking. Yeah. And in our religion, oh, this is time. Jesus is coming back. He come for peace. I love to Christchurch rebuilding again. We just wait.
Hopefully one day, not that far, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, our city will be the most beautiful city in New Zealand. We proved as people in Christchurch, we proved during the earthquake, everyone gathered together. Don't judge refugee people as receiving things. We can offer some support in big events like an earthquake, as long as we have the right skills. 438 people on a small fishing boat, and our boat was, after 4 days, our boat was sinking, and then the Tampa ship, the ship which is belonged to Norway, came and rescued us. Totally, I think we were in the ocean for around 40 days. It wasn't an easy journey. It was the toughest time in our life. My oldest son at the time, he was 3 years old. He and my wife were with me. While we were on the Tampa, I really wanted to learn something, particularly English. I really tried to find some paper and pencil or pen to learn something, but I couldn't. Finally, I found toilet paper and a small pencil, and I used my teeth to sharpen the pencil. And I went to my friends, the one who knew a bit English, and I asked them to teach me some words, write some things in English so I can practice, and I'll come back to you and say to you the right pronunciation or the right spelling, and I'll get some. But some of them, they were looking at me, like, look at this crazy guy, everyone is unhappy because of the situation, and this fella, he wants to learn something new over here. But anyway, I was crazy about it, I really wanted to learn something. To be honest, I cried. Yeah, you remind me, you make me to cry again. Yeah, we've been selected, all family. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lucky me, my wife and my child, they were with me, and I became part of the family. I haven't heard much about New Zealand, and one of us, he was saying in New Zealand we'll have lots of sheep over there, better than lots of snakes. Anytime I get tired, I look at these photos and I say to myself, no, I'm not tired because of them, I need to work hard. And yeah. His name is Ali Reza. He was born just during the earthquake. He's a good boy. Photos help me to have a good night, because sometimes my passengers, they get aggressive, and while they see these photos and then they ask me this photo, and for explains my child and blah blah blah, they get a bit softer to me. Very, very important, to be honest, not for me, for everyone, to learn their own language. It's like our identity, to show who you are. Each Sunday, Afghani children gathering there. Most of the parents really encourage their children to learn their own language. just like a bridge between family and children to have their own language.
Being a volunteer teacher at the Farsi school, it makes me happy as well, because the things that I know, I really like to pass it on to the next generation. For me, being a girl in Afghanistan, there would be barriers to where I would work. Being Muslim, being female, it doesn't stop me from achieving what I want. Because my religion, it really encourages me to take part into society. At the moment, I am studying, working, I am driving. Yep. My dad and so many others, when they left Afghanistan, they didn't know their destination. It was pretty risky. He was in the Tampa. At the moment, I have finished my first year of nursing, and the reason I chose that because I really wanted to have a job that's to do with people and also helping. So I think putting these words together, nursing came perfect. So one day, maybe I decide to go back to my country. I know how the health system works here. Maybe I can contribute to the health system back in my country as well. And at the same time be proud of what I'm doing. On February 2011, a really massive earthquake struck Christchurch. The refugees in general, they have experienced man-made disasters, but for myself, this was the first natural disaster that I experienced.
A lot of participants have said things like, you know, the situation that I came from, I was targeted for what I believe I was persecuted, for who I was, you know, what I represent, what I was saying. Whereas here, an earthquake doesn't target people, it just happened. The thing that sustained them the most was the intra-ethnic community.
After the earthquake struck, the civil defense had opened a few welfare centers in Christchurch, and one was open here, right here in this high school. I was fortunate enough to be working and to be part of the team in this high school. My role was to register people with the Red Cross, providing those that were staying here with anything that they needed, from food to bedding or anything. So many people were leaving at that time, so many, and it just made me so sad. People were panicking, they were packing their belongings. It just reminded me of the war zone. And for me, it was really important to stay because New Zealand had given so much to me. It was the time for me to do something. I am a part of the city, no matter what. I have accomplished something positive for my people, for my city. At the moment when I am walking around or when I'm driving around anywhere in the suburbs of Christchurch, all I see is orange cones everywhere. And that's actually a good sign, a sign of rebuild. It's really amazing how a natural disaster can bring everyone together. I remember so many people saying that before the earthquake, no one knew their neighbors, no one. And after the earthquake, they became close friends.
We came from a disaster countries. We believe that, you know, your neighbors is your first contact, and we apply when it happened, you know, the earthquake. Your neighbor is your family. When it comes to a disaster, you help each other.
For me, being a part of the Afghan community, we have so much to say. We just want to tell everyone. We just want to tell our stories.
We are starting our Nepali class because our children, they don't know how to write Nepali and they forgot to speak also. Here, they started speaking English so that they forgot our mother tongue. When I was 16 years old, they put me in jail in Bhutan, and they put me in 2 years in the jail. But they punished like an animal. After 2 years, they told me, if you live within 24 hours of Bhutan, we'll release from the jail. And I said, better to go home to die here. I left Bhutan and I came to Nepal. We stayed here nearly 17 years in refugee camp. According to the political region of Bhutan government, they want to stop our language. In refugee camp, it's like some animal, like cattle. Life is very, very hard in the camp because they have no money. When there come festivals, when they were taking interview, I said, I want peaceful country and I'm quite sick also. Then I can't do the hard job. When I arrived here, they are asking, where is the Bhutan? And I said, it's below China and 3 parts are covered with India and 1 part is covered with the China. It's like a sandwich. Oh, after earthquake, it's very hard for me and Ahmad, and we start visiting door to door. We went on many other people's homes and we asked them, how do you feel? How do you cope each other from earthquake?
We was helping this area, and we was helping a family, refugee background family from this street, and we actually clean their liquid function from their home. Well, the people, they see us that we are actually going around and working and helping the people. It was a part of the moral support of the refugee background communities.
In the past also, we are at same condition. When we are living in the camp, we passed our life very hardly because they are giving very less food and we have to buy ourselves. We don't have money to buy, no chance to go outside. That is why we know we have got experience from ages so that we know to help each other.
There's an assumption that people who have survived political conflict, civil war, have been displaced, they're almost inherently vulnerable. In fact, they've actually got amazing capacities and strengths and abilities to respond. Whilst the trauma story is a really important one, that's only half the story. The other half of it is how people have responded to it. When you hear the word refugee, what words do you associate with? It's always that story about refugee camps and walking across deserts. In fact, there are other things that have sustained them that I think are far more interesting.
I thought now, when you look at the city, it is quite changed. It's good. Everywhere the reconstruction is going on. And I thought in my future it is quite better than last.
My parents, they lived Iran in 1979, and then from 89 the Iraqi government, they took us away. They put us in the refugee camp in Iraq for about also 11 or 12 years. And we had a very difficult life, and I don't want to remember that time. They would kill them because they said we are Kurdish, because we are not allowed to read or write, or we don't have our own school in our country, so they force us to speak different language and to be a Persian or Arab or Turkish, but we say we are Kurdish. We need our to talk Kurdish or to learn our language, our nature, to be who we are. Kurdistan is a country in Middle East. It's between Iraq, Iran, Syria, Turkey. It's occupied by those 4 countries. Now we are around 30 to 40 million people, and we're trying to get independent. My first year was very hard, and I was under pressure of a lot of thinking. I missed my home country. I was homesick, and I missed my friends, my culture, my food. And after that, I worked hard to learn a new life. I started a new life in New Zealand. I established good chance and a great job, and like a good education, and meeting with a lot of curious people to learn more about the culture in New Zealand and to improve my situation to get better. I hope in the future Christchurch will be one of the best cities in the world and one of the greatest cities in New Zealand. New Zealand, they chose me to bring me here. They improved my life, they saved my life, and I'm very happy to do my best, not only working for money, to do something for this country, to do something for Christchurch.
Sadi, it means free.
I'm proud I'm Kurdish, and I'm very happy I'm Kurdish, and I'm also very happy now I'm Kiwi, and I live in New Zealand. And one of my 2 nephews are working here in Hagley with me now, and my brother-in-law as well. When I started working in Hagley, we used to be only 4 foreigners people, like me, 1 Turkish and 2 Filipino guys. And the guys, the Kiwi guys, they didn't know anything about our cultures. In the moment we have Filipinos, we have Argentinos, we have Turkish, Kurdish, Kiwis, Samoan. We do joke all together, and we're having fun, and everybody happy, and it's great actually to learn a lot about other cultures. He's my friend, he's from Filipino. Roland, he's also from Filipino, and Eric, because all their names are similar, so I confuse sometimes. Eric also, he's from Filipino, and we work together. We used to work in the glazing jug, so they are very good workers and very friendly and nice people. I like them a lot.
We've got over 170 different cultures living in this city now. About 80 different languages being spoken. You've only got to look at the way in which our city has evolved over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's going to keep evolving like this.
The positive things, you learn more of other cultures, and it's good. We're all human, we work together, it's good. We are like a family now, but we all from different countries.